Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and today we are diving into episode number 153, Basic Resources for the Business Startup. All the fun stuff I love to talk about. But before we get to that, I want to jump over and thank our sponsor today, Hey Taxi. Hey Taxi empowers and educates female entrepreneurs who are growing their businesses online. The Hey Taxi's Empowered CEO membership is for you if you are a female entrepreneur who is ready and fully committed to taking action to run a successful, profitable business and ready to scale quickly. You need strategic support from experienced business peers who can partner to develop action plans and provide access to focused business training and go-to tools covering all the areas of running a business online, including finance, taxes, sales, marketing, and mindset, and get direct access to vetted business CPAs, live interactive training, and go-to business resources. Take the Hey Taxi Swiss Cheese Survey today to identify the gaps in the gold stars in your current business strategy and structure, and you can do that at the link that we have below. And today I am so excited to welcome our guest, Mary Scott. And for those of you listening on our podcast, we also go live on our Facebook page at Lead Up for Women. So feel free to jump over there, like us, subscribe, follow us, and of course, find all the information about our community at leadupforwomen.com. Mary Scott is an award-winning New York director and producer of online videos, documentary films, and not-for-profit videos. And she has come out from behind the camera. Finally, she spent over 30 years making contacts and observing the world, and now uses that experience and insight to help hundreds of startups find exactly what they need to succeed faster. She compiled the Startup Resources Guide for St. Louis and is a team at a leader at 1 million cups. Mary brings her unique approach and experience to help businesses invent, create new ideas and processes, and find the right resources to change the world and take humanity to the stars. I love that, Mary. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Colleen. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Oh, I love having you here. We love having you as a member of our Lead Up for Women community. It just goes to show the level of strength and like-minded women that we have and power in this community, and all of the support that all of us get, because you have to talk to me about what it was like to be a New York director and producer of online videos. What was that like? Take us back to that
Well,
world.
I had a backstage pass to the world.
Yeah.
I had a reason to talk to famous people and infamous people, and they would take my calls and get in front of my camera and allow me to actually put microphones on them. So
I love that.
it was great fun. And I especially loved hearing about stuff that I knew nothing about previously. That
Yeah.
is just the best. To
Yeah.
learn something new, it just is wonderful.
Yeah, we were talking about that on the last episode of Lead Up for Women, Speak Up to Lead Up, where we were talking about being a student and how important it is as entrepreneurs for us to be students. And learn. We do a lot of teaching, wouldn't you say, in our trades, and we're teaching and coaching and helping other people, and we need to take the time to absorb that information. And what a beautiful time for you to do that from behind the camera when you were serving them, but learning so much from what they had to say on camera. I want to talk about why camera is so important. Camera, videos. What from you, Mary? What would be your opinion? Why are videos so important?
Because the personal contact is really important.
Mm.
And you you get information from what you see, what you hear, what you feel, what you smell. And it's easier to do that live. But in this day and age with the global economy, the closest you can get to that is video, because you can get, hand gestures, you can see body expressions, you can see face and hear tone of voice, and get all those other things that come in to help you get to know somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And the other cool thing is particularly online video.
Yeah.
Anytime you're doing a video, you're talking to one person, but you're talking to one person hundreds, thousands, millions of times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's
I love
only
that.
that one person with,
Yeah.
one face on the phone.
Right.
So that's what's very cool about it. It's
Mm-hmm.
what's important about it. And thinking about just talking to one person
Yeah.
helps introverts get past the fear of cameras and crowds and all that other stuff.
Yeah, especially because, okay, I'm glad that you said that. The economy is starting, the pandemic is caused a lot of in-person events to stop. They're coming back, right? Football
There.
stadiums are full again. Events are starting to come back where we can go in person and not have to do
Yeah.
them online, which I know we're all craving. But so many women who would have started a business in the last 2 years fear that being in front of the room on the stage in front of other people. Don't you believe that the videos that they can do today and get them
Mm-hmm.
out there help them overcome that fear, because they are only talking to one person, but that one person multiplies into 20 views, 1,500 views. And even at an event, let's say that you were invited to speak at an event, or you threw an event and you had 60 people there or 100 people there, your online video can reach 5 times that.
Oh, easily,
Yeah.
easily. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even one-on-one conversations on Zoom, when you create a Zoom meeting with somebody, it helps get you comfortable in front of the camera. And you really are at that point only talking to one person.
Right.
You also have the option, particularly if you initiate the call, to hit the record button, and then you can kind of watch yourself and how you present
Mm.
and see if you say or so too
Yeah.
many times like I do.
Yeah, I have a whole series on YouTube that I did out there. And so our links for YouTube are always in our show notes. So click on that. And I did a whole series on how to be an expert speaker. And one of the pieces was filler words and and I go back and I listen to my very first podcast that I did, Mary, the very first radio show when we were live. And I think I said the word probably 27 times or something within the hour.
And
And
I just met a startup company that
yeah.
has a video product that can take all the dead sound and the ums out of a presentation.
I
Yeah.
know. That is so crazy, the technology advancements that we have today. But I think Mary's point of doing the video is to create that confidence level in you, right? That assurity and certainty level in you, so that you feel more comfortable. So when you're doing your videos, you don't always just have to sit, at the camera and look, at the camera. You can stand up and have it further back from you and stand there and talk to a video like you're presenting. I know there's some videos I've done where I use a whiteboard, or a flip chart, because I'm writing on there and I'm showing people, by writing things, because I am not technically savvy. I'm
Or
just
do the
not.
dance party.
Yeah.
We do dance party for lead
Right.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, we do the dance party. I'm always dancing, before networking events that we do, because I want to raise my vibration and raise the vibration in the room. And it always works when you have a dance party. So, I'm glad you said that, because I think, you've been observing the world through behind the lens of a camera, right? Now you're out in front of that lens, and now you're in front of the camera with your business, with podcasts that you're on, like this one today. How has that shift changed for you from being behind the camera now to being in the front of the camera?
Well, initially it made me a lot more self-conscious.
Mm.
And so it's, as an extrovert, and then kind of getting stopped in my tracks, having to actually do this stuff. I had to get pushed through that, being self-conscious, to, I don't care. This is how I come across. This is me. And it's about authenticity these days anyway. So if you're not you, people can tell.
Yeah.
There's an expression, you can't fool dogs and children.
That's true.
And what's interesting about video is that society has been watching television for so long
Mm-hmm.
that we really know. We can tell if someone's lying. We can tell if someone's reading. We can tell if someone isn't clear on what they're really doing. So, you know,
It's
this
so
is
true,
it
Mary,
has to
because
come through.
my
Yeah.
husband and I were watching a show the other day. It was a movie on
Mm-hmm.
TV, and it was an actor, and this actor always ad libs. You can tell in every movie he's bringing in his own lines because you can tell that the other actors and actresses weren't expecting that line, but then they just flow right with it. And that to me is the authenticity piece, right? So how I think one of the steps that I feel it, you have a guide that we'll talk about that are really the 10 but basic steps for a business startup. But one of the basic resources for me, that I think is the biggest thing in working and launching all the businesses I've launched over the years is the belief and the faith and the clarity in your message, right? You have to have a desire, the faith, the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing and how it's going to impact the consumer, right? And so when you are sure about what you're doing and why it's the best thing, like when Apple came out with their Apple products, they were like, this is going to change the way we listen to music. It's going to change the way you access music. They were so sure about that, they convinced you that it was going to change the way we access music, right? So you have to be that sure about your product and service. Talk to me about the business owners you work with, Mary, and some of those steps with the resource guide and in startups and
Well, the
what's so important.
first thing when someone's got an idea to do a business, when you're thinking about starting a business
Yeah.
or you've just kind of got it launched, the very first thing you need to do is validate that idea. If you, it can be a brilliant idea, but that doesn't mean that somebody else hasn't thought of it first.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a brilliant idea, but that doesn't mean that somebody else doesn't have something similar that maybe you can build onto.
Mm-hmm.
Finding a co-founder can be a real major way of getting a successful startup.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the second thing in validating an idea, apart from the Google search to see if it's been done before, is to talk to who you think your market is.
Mm. Test it,
Test.
right?
You have to
Test it.
test the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Um, have you ever encountered this? Does this keep you from getting sleep at night?
Mm-hmm.
Would this be useful to you? Do you think you'd be or your boss would be willing to pay for this?
Right.
And you get two things there. You get whether or not it's a good idea, but you also get the consumer's take on it. So
Right.
you may be getting information that you hadn't realized and maybe thinking about redesigning
Yeah.
or revamping what you're actually going to offer.
Right.
So validate that idea. Rule number one.
Yeah, it's supply and demand chain, right? So if you are solving a problem
Mm-hmm.
that exists in the world, and you have the solution to
Yeah.
that problem, then you can pull that to ask people, if this resource was available, would you be willing to pay money for it? How often would you access it? How
Mm-hmm.
long would you want to be involved with it?
Sure.
There's so many ways that you can pull people now, even on your Facebook page or friends and family and people that you know in your community or your church or whatever it may be, and just ask, right? You got to
Exactly.
ask.
Ask.
Yeah.
And if you don't ask, you're not going to know.
Oh, that's the truth. And by the way, the answer is always no, I tell people. What was the answer before you asked? No, that's right, because
No,
you
it
didn't
was
ask. So
no.
what's the worst that can happen if the answer's still no? Okay, we're still back to where we were in the
Right,
beginning.
right, right.
So basically, we can't go anywhere from here but up. So
Right,
let's go ask the question. Yeah. So
right.
what would be another step, Mary?
The next thing somebody would need to do is think about a good name for your product or service.
Love
And
that.
when you think of that name, do a search on URLs. You want
Mm-hmm.
to get the name of the business.com. So come up
Yeah.
when you're thinking of a name for your business, make sure that you can buy the URL.
Yeah. I'm
which is
glad
the
that you
name of
said
your
that.
website
Yeah.
before you actually go and register your business.
We went, when I started Lead Up for Women, we went and looked at Lead Up, right? I
Mm-hmm.
completely made up the name. And we
Mm-hmm.
went looking for the word lead up, and I found a marketing company in Australia and looked at all their information that had the name lead up. And I was like, I have no idea why they have this name lead up. I don't even know what they're trying to prove or say with that name. It didn't make any sense, right? But when we added the lead up for women, it made total sense of what the community stood for. But again, you're right. There are names of companies out there that it doesn't make, there's no alignment with what they do with their name. I do think that there's some importance to that. However,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how an apple had anything to do with the start of what they did. I don't know. So I guess some out
It was a
there
design
make more
thing, I
sense. It
think.
was a design, yeah, for
And
sure.
in the computer industry, you go with themes. So
Yeah,
if you notice, Apple had um, sub brands that were named after apples, like the Macintosh.
right. That's so interesting.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
so true. Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah, these are great. Keep them coming. Let's come up with another one.
Okay.
Another good one.
Another one is register your business.
Yeah.
Be real. You
Being
have to
legit.
go to your local municipality and
Mm-hmm.
register your business. Sometimes it's as little as $25. You don't have to be an LLC or anything to get started, just a DBA,
Mm-hmm.
but you need to register your business. And then you need to go get an EIN number, which is an employee identification number,
Mm-hmm.
which is a federal thing. And that big importance here. This is how you separate your business from yourself.
Yeah, it
It
legitimizes your business.
legitimizes,
Mm-hmm.
it's a number you use um to collect sales tax if
Mm-hmm.
that's what you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
It's a number you use when you are opening a business bank account. So you're
Mm-hmm.
not connecting your business bank account to your
Mm-hmm.
social security number. They're separate.
Yeah.
And that's another thing is
Establish
that
business credit
your
under that. Yeah.
business
Mm-hmm.
finances need to be in an entirely different bank from your personal,
Yeah.
because you don't want to mix the two. That's a big red flag to the IRS or any other
Yeah.
taxing authority. You want to keep your business separate because it's not personal, it's just business.
Right. I used to teach a class on this, which is called Piercing the Corporate Veil.
Oh,
And
indeed.
what that means is when you mix your personal money with
Mm-hmm.
what is your legitimate business money. And I know there's crossover and people say, well, I use my
Right.
personal credit card for my business. And no, those are all no-nos. You're not supposed to do that. But I
Exactly.
say that because it's not a client, right? It's someone that can sue you, that can pierce the corporate veil if you've mixed the personal and
Right.
business, which
Right.
means now that you are not protected and
Mhm.
they can come after your personal assets. It's a big thing when you
It
build a
is a
business.
big thing. And initially, you're going to be putting your own skin in the game. You are going
Yeah.
to be investing your
Yeah.
own money in your business. And rather than using a personal credit card,
Mm-hmm.
get a business credit card, because you can do deposits into your bank account and call them loan from owner
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and use that money to pay your business credit card. It's an extra step, but it keeps things clean, it
Separate.
keeps things separate.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Another thing, you absolutely have to get liability insurance. Depending on what other kinds of things you're doing, you
Yep.
may need additional insurance,
Cyber
whether it's
insurance
or
and yeah.
transportation or whatever.
Yeah. Oh
But
yeah, my
you
husband
must
runs a
must
drone company. He has a ton
must
of
be
commercial
insured.
insurance. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and in some cases, some companies won't even work with him if he has under $4 million insurance.
Right.
For anything that could happen if the drone were to fly into someone or a building or something like that. So you're not
Mhm.
only protecting your own assets, you're protecting. And if you're an online coach, let's say, and you're like, well, I don't have a product that per se, right? It's
Mhm.
it's my advice. you need insurance for that too, because someone can come, believe it or not, it happens. Someone can sue you for your advice. And I have business insurance for my business. My husband has it for his. And then I have an umbrella policy that takes over after those, that then again protects before you get to any of our personal assets.
Unfortunately, in America, people can sue for anything. There is no law whatsoever against giving bad advice. There's just none. That's part of the First Amendment. Correct. It doesn't stop people from initiating lawsuits, which cost money and legal fees and all this other stuff. So that's what the insurance is for.
I think the first time that I heard of a lawsuit, and this is just me being honest, was the one of the lady that received her coffee in the drive-thru, spilled it on herself, and sued McDonald's for the coffee being too hot. I mean, come on, we all know coffee's hot. And if you,
I know the CPA that did the audit on that one. Yeah.
Do you know how many thousands of times I've spilt coffee on myself in a car driving to work, or gotten it and it slipped out of my hand? Or is that not my fault? I thought that was my fault. Like, I spilt it in my car. How is McDonald's responsible for that? But after I heard of that one for many, many, many years ago, many of you would probably remember it. That was when I realized the world had shifted, and we were now able to sue for just about anything. And we didn't have the liability now as individuals anymore. It was on the businesses, and we need to protect ourselves as businesses.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, and we touched a little bit about, you got to have your business credit separate from your personal credit.
Yeah.
And
it takes a while to build that.
It takes a while to build that. But when you're first starting out, you need to be very aware of your own credit score and your credit history. And this is where organizations like the Small Business Development Centers can help, because they're connected. They're the SBDCs, the Small Business Development Centers. There's usually one in every community. They're usually based out of a university. They're financed by the Small Business Administration, so it's no cost to you as a startup, but they can help you do the right things that you need to do to boost your own credit. They can help you get access to things that will get your business credit started. So, and they definitely help you put together a business plan. So that's a really good thing to know. One of the first resources to go to is the Small Business Development Centers.
I hope you guys all heard that. So look that up online. We don't have that in our notes. So the Small Business Development Centers in your area, just look that up based on your city and your state, and you'll find those. They have great resources.
The other cool thing is that anybody can call up their congressperson and ask them, what are the business resources in my neighborhood?
That's great.
Because Congress people have staffers who are hungry, and they are very willing to help out a constituent, particularly when the constituent says, and if you help me out, I'll be happy to provide a photo op for the congressperson.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. And so use your representatives. They're there to help you.
Yeah, another great way to get exposure. Did you have any more on your list you wanted to share with us?
It's a really good idea to have a good computer. Have a good computer, not just a tablet.
I'm laughing, possibly not just I've had so many of them die on me lately, but
because you're going to need some kind of accounting software. You're going to need business correspondence software. You're going to need a CRM, a contact resource management system. Because you want to keep track of whether it's stuff coming into your business, or accounts payable, or accounts receivable, or who your clients or your potential clients are, when you need to follow up on a contact. There's all kinds of stuff. And that's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is not being organized. And a good CRM solves a lot of those problems.
So, and even if you don't know how to run them, I'm not the best at running my CRM. I have an assistant that helps me with that is really good at running those CRMs, right? So,
and it makes her job much easier because she has a CRM.
Right. Yeah. And it makes my job a lot easier too, because I don't have to figure it out. So again,
Yeah.
connecting and accessing those resources of
Mhm.
people that are fluent in
Sure.
areas that you aren't. And as you're growing your business, these are going to be the resources that you're going to
Mhm.
need to hire. The only way to scale a business, it's impossible for us to do it on our own. The only way
Right.
to do that is to duplicate our time. We have
Right.
24 hours in a day, just
Yeah.
like everybody else. How are some people able to scale faster than others? Is they hire resources, which then give them back those hours. So the hours you would have been working 10 hours a week on something, when you hire someone else to do that 10 hours, you just got 10 hours back for you to be able to utilize that. Or if someone's doing 10 hours of sales, you've duplicated your efforts of the 10 hours you were doing. Now someone else is doing 10 more of those. So now you're doing 20 hours of
Yeah.
sales that week, right? So that's going to help increase the revenue of your business.
Right.
These are
Right.
great.
Yeah.
These are great lists,
Yeah.
great
And
ideas.
the last thing I talk about is business cards, whether they're digital
Mm-hmm.
or paper.
Yeah.
People need to be able to contact you and they need to be able to find you. And the nice thing about a paper business card is that it can have your photo or a logo or
Mm-hmm.
something on it that makes it stand out. Um, your name, your email address, your phone number. You have to have those, whether you have a website or not.
Yeah.
People need to be able to find
Yeah.
you, and that's what goes on a business card. If you add a photo, and real estate agents do this all the time, it helps people remember who you
Yeah.
are and
Add your
maybe where
photo.
they met you.
Add
You
your
know,
photo. Yeah.
I always like to throw a QR code on the back of my business card, which gets
Smart.
people to my website. And a make other than the QR code, the back of the business card is blank because I want people to be able to take notes.
Yeah, that's a great
I
idea.
I like when I meet somebody at an actual event, I like putting on the back, introduce them to Susie,
Yes.
what I talk to them about. So when you do the follow up, it makes some sense and it makes it personal
Yeah.
and it shows people that you actually are interested in who they are and what they do.
Yeah. You know, it was, and there's so many online apps that you can use as well with business cards now,
Mm-hmm.
where, because I used to have, buckets of them.
Yeah.
And I was introduced to online apps that you can just
Mm-hmm.
go on, scan the business card, they go
Right.
right into your contacts.
Right.
Now you have them in your phone, and then you can put all the rest of the information in and discard the business card if you want, right? Because you can
Right.
put notes in and add
Right.
them to your CRM system, which is what I
Yeah,
like.
especially
Really
if
good.
your CRM is set up with some
Hmm.
automation that
Yeah,
will automatically contact them and
great.
say, thank you for meeting me at this past event.
Yeah, I was at an in-person event on Saturday and wasn't even thinking. And I had two people hand me their business cards and ask me for mine. I was like, oops, didn't bring them in with me. Didn't even think about it. I've been
Right.
on Zoom for the past 2 years, totally
Mhm.
forgot. And I have business cards. I just forgot
Mhm.
to bring them in. So
Yeah.
again, just, the thought it's,
I find when I forget my business cards, I have a couple of taglines like, I'm Mary Scott. I have the information. So you can just go to maryscott.info and you'll find the virtual networking links.
yeah,
So it's a way to find
it's
me.
great.
Excuse me. And so there's that. And I'm Mary Scott. I'm the queen of video, or I'm the queen of sound bites. And that's how they remember Mary Scott.
That's so great. I usually take their business card and I'll write my information on their business card and hand it back to them. Or if I have a notebook or something, I'll write my information down and give it to them. And then I'll say, "You'll
Right.
never forget this," because I'm the female that forgot the business card. So
Yeah.
seriously, I'm the unprofessional one in the room. But sometimes I run
Well, you
out.
can, you can do variations on
Oh
your
yeah,
last name is Biggs, and this is you got a big idea.
yeah.
Remember me?
It's
There's those
so
kinds of
cute. I
things.
love that. That's so great, Mary. Well, let's tell our community, how can they reach you? You've given us so much information. So obviously not only are you going to help them connect, right, with the development centers for small businesses in their area, but
Mhm.
you've got a checklist that we've got the link below and everything there for them to access this checklist we just talked about. But what is the best way for someone to get into your community, to follow you, to get to know you?
You can find me in LinkedIn under Mary Scott, um, or Business Riff. I think I'm Mary Scott NY in LinkedIn.
Okay.
And that's another little trick I found for people. Buy the URL that's your name. And if you think somebody else has your name, do
Someone
bestcolleenbiggs.com.
does have my name, by the way. They do.
Well, then, like I said, you can do bestcolleenbiggs.com
Yeah.
or colleenbiggsleadup.com.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
Yeah.
I have Mary Scott NY. So there's
Yeah.
another Mary Scott, but she's not from New York.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome,
So,
right? Yeah. So
yeah.
that happens, right? When you go out to look
Right.
and someone said there's another Colleen Biggs out there. I'm like, yeah, and she bought a website. So I guess there is another Colleen Biggs out there. I'd like to meet her someday. But
Yeah.
you can go to businessriff.com. You can find Mary Scott on LinkedIn. If you go to Facebook and watch our video and you see her picture on LinkedIn, you won't be able to miss her because her hair's purple, y'all. So I'm just saying, when you go look her up on LinkedIn, her hair's purple, so you can't miss who she is. And you can find her obviously on Facebook if that's your social media addiction of choice. You can go find her there. She's also on Twitter. So a lot of places you can find her. All the links are on our Facebook feed. They're also at your fingertips here on the podcast.
Yeah.
So
My startup YouTube channel is Startup Advice.
ooh,
So
I
you
love
can
that.
find
Yeah.
Startup Advice on YouTube.
People are always Googling startup advice for a business. So that was smart to create that as your YouTube channel link for sure. And thank you, Mary, for being with us today and sharing all of these tips on the basic resources for the business startup. And even if you're not looking for basic resources in your business startup and you've realized out of these items that we discussed today that maybe you're struggling in one of those areas, then reach out to Mary and find out how she can assist you. She has been working and rubbing, elbows with the elite in New York for a long, long time. And she has a wealth of knowledge and wisdom for you to tap into. So get in her community, get to know her, get some advice from her. That's why we bring these amazing women on this show like Mary Scott, so that all of you are able to live your best life. And I know that sounds so cliche to say, but if you feel like you woke up this morning and you're not happy and joyful and everything in your life's going great and you're in action and you're not living your best life, then something's missing. Change it. Change it, right? You're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that will ever be. You are so unique. You have something special to offer the world. Stop hiding it. Stop shrinking back. It's time for you to get out there and speak up, to lead up in your life. So, Mary, thank you for being with us today. And for all of you that are listening, until next time, be you and be strong.